Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round number 5 or the season number 2 of the World TX in Malaysia at the Sepang International Racetrack. Our bird view looking beautiful. Isn't it, Louisa?
It's so pretty, yes, like the track itself.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
It looks really amazing. In the southwest of Malaysia, the track is southerly of Kuala Lumpur, the capital city of Malaysia.
There it comes.
Yeah, there it comes. And it's a really, really tricky track.
Looks like a flower from above, right?
Yes.
There we have the EX0 on the track, driving around these, as you said, tricky corners. And that's the starting grid of today. That's the lineup of today.
8 pros and 9 eSport drivers, and presented by Absolute Racing. This race here at the Sepang International Race Circuit, and the round number 5. And it will be an interesting race, of course. Here you can see the
beautiful team space.
Absolutely.
That's the word. Team space.
I was looking for that. I was looking
Absolute
for that.
Racing,
Absolutely.
the hosts of today's race.
Absolutely. We're going to continue with the qualifying result. Devin Browner, the winner of the Maastricht EX Prix the last month, was the fastest with 1:42.385, followed by the Englishman, Mr. Jack Keithley from Williams Esport. Niklas Born, late one into the top 3 from Switzerland, and followed by the 4th position, only the 4th position for Alan Terzic. Will Triggertha, the Brits are really good in the moment. On the 5th position, Gigi Toman from Slovakia, from the Czech Republic, sorry for that. In the 6th position, the best lady in the field, 7th position from the Netherlands, Beitske Visser. We are red, we are white, we're Danish Dynamite, Andreas Jochemsen, 8th position. Thomas Schmidt, fulfilling the Switzerland country very well, and the country fellow man of Andreas Jochemsen, Oscar Kristensen, is fulfilling the top 10. So, this is the fastest lap for Devin Browner, and you might be quite lucky, isn't it?
Yeah, we bet before. I'm very, very lucky that Devin set the fastest time. And yeah, Martin, welcome to round 5. And of course, I'd like to welcome you, the next host, the 3rd host of today, Dave Richardson. Dave Richardson is there for you with the best qualifying lap. Dave, can you hear us?
Thank you very much, Louisa. And Martin, it's nothing like being 3rd, is there? And nothing like 3rd was Devin Browner then, as we watch this fantastic lap in prospect here in the Sepang circuit, Malaysia. Devin certainly delivering, heading up towards turn number 1 now, which really does get away from you. You've got to be so tight here because it comes and comes and comes, and then straight into the left-hander, which is turn number 2. Then turn number 3 here at Sepang is a real winding right-hander. And as you can see, Devin Browner got it set up absolutely perfectly going into the next turn, which is turn number 4, another right-hander. But boy, you've got to be keen here, and he was well on the brakes, and he set it up perfectly. Again, another long sweeping bend here in Malaysia. This is turn number 5, which again leads immediately into another turn, which is turn 6. Hardly a moment to relax for Devin Browner here as he tries to get the very best out of this. Very quick through turn number 7, and it's almost a double apex, but that is turn number 8 before a reasonable straight now before the next left-hander, which is turn number 9. And it's all about these sweeping turns here at Sepang, because here comes the next one. It's turn number 10. Really sweep. You can really build the power now before you then have to be really keen on the brakes for turn number 11. Then it's another big blast of the throttle from this EX0 car then, and into turn number 12 before, and I'm getting tired of saying this now, another sweeper, which is turn number 13, which soon becomes turn number 14. And then it's a real blast of throttle down from the back, if you like, of the home straight. You're running parallel to the home straight now. Before the hairpin, which is turn number 15, here it comes. Devin Browner giving us an absolute textbook example of how to get the very best out of this tarmac and this track here at Sepang, as he crosses the timing line now and delivered the very fastest lap. Brilliant stuff from Devin Browner then, who really delivered. Love the Sepang circuit here in Malaysia. It is, as Martin and Louisa said, just a stone's throw, a mighty stone's throw, to be fair, from the city centre of Kuala Lumpur. And it's a great circuit, and one that I think Martin and Louisa is going to deliver outstanding racing for us tonight.
I guess so, because it looks just what we saw in the free practice, and of course in the qualifying. It will be a really, really tricky race, I guess, because the track is slippery due to the weather conditions, first of all, and second of all, it's quite unusual for me personally. They're using the curbs massively, much more than they ever did it before. I saw it.
Yeah. And yeah, as we mentioned before, Absolute Racing did the setup for today. And yeah, we have Ingo Matta and Zai-Fai Lee talk about Sepang, the track and its qualities in the next film.
I mean, Sepang is for us a place of heart. We've always had a base in Sepang from day one. We've raced many, many things. In Sepang, we had a lot of victories there, a lot of good memories. And I mean, just now on top of my head, I have to say, we were the first one to win with the 991.2, with the latest GT3R when it was launched. It was the first win worldwide with that car. And I think we had the full podium when GT World Challenge came there. And also with Formula 3, we managed a lot of Asian drivers to be able to be the first. We had the first Sri Lankan to win an official FIA F3 race with us there. But there are many, many, many good memories there.
Sepang circuit was one of the closest F1 tracks to China before the Shanghai International Circuit was built, and we are all very familiar to this track. The biggest importance for this track, I think, is from the weather, high temperature. The unique climate makes the road temperature stay very high, often approaching about 50 degrees or 60 degrees Celsius. And our car is very sensitive to tire temperature. If you overheat the tires, you have no grip at all. So controlling the tire temperature may be a very important point during the race.
Well, we definitely pushed a lot to be competitive in Sepang. The boys have been testing a lot, have been in the sim a lot, have been driving a lot, so fingers crossed. I mean, the goal has to be to have a good show there.
Today, but before we go to quarterfinal number 1 with the pro drivers, let's have a look on the race format of World EX.
A 20-minute qualifying determines the starting grid for the 2 quarterfinals, one for the pro racing drivers, one for the esports racers. The best 5 drivers from each group proceed to the semi-final before the final 2-lap head-to-head shootout for the best pro racing driver and the best esports racer. All cars reaching at least one final will qualify for the Super Final at the Nürburgring Nordschleife on December the 13th.
Quarterfinal 1 is ahead of us, so the pros are going into that, and the best pro was Mr. Schmidt.
Was he?
No, it was it was the other Swiss. Yeah,
Miklas.
Yeah,
Miklas was.
Miklas Born.
Yeah,
You're right. So Miklas Born, Wilfried Göther, Beitzke Visser, and Andreas Jochem, the best pros so far. And it will be an interesting one, and I'm really looking forward to that. And for me personally, it looks a bit like that the pros have a tiny little bit more problems with the track. What do you think? It looks a bit like that they have not that real good feeling for the track. The eSport guys are a tiny little bit better from the feeling. We will see. It's quite interesting. Quarterfinal number 1 is ahead of us, and I guess we're going to continue now with a short view on Mr. Brauner.
5 minutes ago, right?
Yep. 5 minutes to go before we start with the Beitzke Visser. So we have 2 different guys now here. Yeah.
They can breathe a little bit.
Absolutely.
Keep themselves down, and then let's go action.
I mean, on the other hand, in the real racing, they have the discussion between the teammates, the engineers, the mechanics, and everything.
Yes.
And here, it doesn't have anything.
WhatsApp, Discord.
Their connection to the world is their mobile phone,
Of
or
course.
probably mom or dad or the brother or the father or
Girlfriend,
the
boyfriend.
girlfriend, boyfriend, sister, dog in the background.
Dog. Yes.
Did you had your evening? Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. Shall we go late? Yeah. Okay. No problem. It will be quite interesting to see how these guys now competing in the first quarterfinal. But just what I said before, it will be interesting for me personally to see the guys competing on the track, which is a tricky one. I guess it will be. I cannot say why, but I does have the feeling that the pros have more sliding problems with the track.
Yeah, it's always funny,
Yeah.
like how esport drivers are performing in virtual racing, and I think pro drivers are a little bit, as Mike Rockenfeller always says, they don't like losing. Pro drivers hate losing, and that's what keeps them alive here and keeps them fighting here. So
Yeah.
because they want to get better, they want to outdrive the others and take the win.
But
So
turn
it's
it the
interesting.
other way around. Take the reels into the virtual world, and take the esport drivers into the real world. They would also have the same problem as if you're going to connect them with the always other world, it's always not that easy to handle the track. And I guess the esport guys are quite clever because they have it in just the fingers. They just have it in their hands. They just have it in their eyes because they look on the track, they look on the esport track, they look on the virtual track, and they have the feeling for a track.
Yeah.
And it could be like that.
But real motorsport always was a thing, sim racing not.
Yeah.
And that's the new stuff. Like pro drivers know, okay, I have my pace in the real racing world. I know where I'm standing, and then new challenge, virtual track should be the same, right? And I think that's the tiny thing.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Yeah, but some esports drivers already joining real world racing, like was it Heinemann and Jimmy Broadbent and so on. And things are mixing up, and I think I like it. It's interesting to watch.
But it was quite interesting that Xiaofei Li were just ahead of the start with 2 minutes. It's quite interesting that Xiaofei Li said by himself that it will be the hardest one, the weather conditions. So it's not which is not, which you cannot control. You can control the engine, you can control the dampers, you can control the tires and everything. But the weather is just uncontrollable. It's a game. It's a gambling.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting to see what the guys are doing later on in the first quarterfinal and then the second quarterfinal.
There is Miklas.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Let's switch over to Dave Richardson.
Thank you very much. Fascinating listening to your conversation, and what a lot of sense you talk with regards to comparing the esports drivers and the pro drivers. And of course, you're absolutely right. A number of esports drivers making it into the real world racing, and that's only going to become more prevalent and more the case as the years go by. It's all right for young whippersnappers like Louisa. It's for older men like Martin and myself that have to get to grips with this. Miklas Born going from P1 alongside Wiltrid Gerfer. Weizgewisse, going to be a danger lady from P3, in my opinion. Then it's Andreas Jochimsen, Rafael Lobato, and Henry Drury line up P5 and P6, with Nicholas Hillebrand and Chris Overend going from P8. So we are but 23 seconds and counting away from our first quarterfinal getting underway. We're live. Welcome to the RCCO World EX Championship. We are at the Sepang circuit in Malaysia. And It's a track that I've been to. I've not run round it because it's always been too hot, but it is a super circuit. We're in for some great racing tonight. Welcome to the program. Stand by. We are ready to get quarterfinal 1 underway. Oh, held for a long time before the klaxons went out, but it's a good start from Niklas Born, who dives to protect the inside line. And you can see Will Tregurtha taking a look at the outside now. It's a long way around the outside. And a great move from Jochimsen, who's moved up the order and could have P2. But no, he's just denied that by Will Tregurtha. Good battle going on for P2. And for P3, of course, whilst all that's going on, Niklas Born rubs his hands with invisible soap as he's able to try and escape up the road here. So Niklas Born, Will Tregurtha. Andreas Jochimsen, P3. Then it's Nicholas Hillebrand and Henry Drury and Rafael Labato. So let's take a look on board of Will Tregurtha here. Great onboard shot that was. And here we are then, as you can see, this winding and very, very difficult to negotiate Sepang circuit that will bring out the very best of the car and the best of the driver as well, but it will challenge all the way around this 5-lap quarter-final 1. The Nianco eSports driver then showing a clean pair of heels to the rest of the 8-strong pack at the moment. Do bear in mind, top 5 are those that will be going through, and therefore a position finish P1 through to P5 is absolutely critical for all these drivers that are taking part in this quarter-final. And at the moment, Niklas then, he's now being caught significantly, and you can see it's a 3-way fight beginning to develop as we complete the first lap and put that in the book. And just keep your eyes here on Tregurtha, who is looking very lively. A big sideways lovely power slide around the final turn. Loving the sideways action there from Niklas, who held onto it nicely. But look at this, getting the benefit of the draft off the back of the Niklas Born car. Going into turn number 1 then. And again, a long way around the outside. Just a little bit of leaning there from Niklas to make sure that he denies Tregurtha the opportunity of coming through from the outside. And of course, Andreas Jochimsen is just looking to pick up any pieces that should go awry from the top 2 that are battling really rather nicely at the moment. So we're on to lap 2 of 5 of this quarter-final 1. It is Niklas Born from Will Tregurtha then. That's the way it looks, P1 and P2 at the moment, bearing in mind Henry Drury is occupying the final paid-for place in P5 currently, and he's heading Labato and Vosse and Overend, who are running P6, 7 and 8 respectively. Niklas Born then sets the fastest lap. It's kind of no surprise, really. He's got clear tarmac ahead of him. A 1:48.323 comes from Niklas Born. And that's a good shot of seeing the drivers hard at work here. Inside their simulators, sort of a plain background there. No posters, no trophies, no paraphernalia adorning the workspace there as Niklas Born then builds up a margin of just around 8/10 at the moment from P1 and P2. So Will Tregurtha's early charge, if you will, to try and wrestle away that P1 place seems to have gone awry, or is he just playing and just going to bide his time before really pushing and making a move for that P1 spot? So these are the pro drivers then that are racing in quarter-final 1, and it is Will Tregurtha in P2. Niklas Born is in P1. Now here you can see where the office space here and sim space is adorned with super picture on the background there, which is always enjoyable to see. And now the Nianco eSports driver is beginning to come under a little pressure as Will Tregurtha once again for Williams eSports lights up the wick, if you will, and begins just to harry Niklas a little bit here. So it's a fantastic battle that is going on for P1, and it has raged from the very, very start of this quarter-final. And there's just something about this that makes you think it's going to go all the way to the virtual checkered flag, really, here in Sepang. 3 of 5 laps, then, for quarter-final 1. It's Niklas Born from Will Tregurtha, then it's Andreas Jochimsen, Nicholas Hillebrand and Henry Drury. They occupy the P3, 4 and 5 positions, with Beitski Visser in P6, and then it's Rafael Labato and Chris Oberend then running in P8. You can actually almost hear and feel the traction from these wonderful cars then as they really light up their virtual electric motors then. And just an eye to the camera there, keeping an eye on the fan club, of course. Miklas Born then. The gap has narrowed down to just over 4/10, and you can see that Andreas Jochumsen isn't out of this either yet. So it could go any way. These three have really broken away from the rest of the pack, which is headed up by Nicholas Hillebrand, who is P4, and Henry Drury, who is P5. So every corner is absolutely critical now. Will tyre deg begin to play something of a part in the very high ambient temperatures that are always experienced here at the Sepang circuit in Malaysia? Again, Will Tregurtha then getting the benefit of the slipstream off the Miklas Born car, but Miklas holding on to it nicely. Again, Tregurtha trying to sell him a dummy around the outside here, and the big beneficiary could be Andreas Jochumsen. For my money, he is one to keep an eye on here in that P3 place. So just keep your eyes on that car from Andreas Jochumsen, who is in P3. You can see the rest of the pack just coming into the picture there. And again, Tregurtha now tries to put himself alongside Miklas Born, trying to sell Miklas a dummy once again, but Born is wise to it and doesn't yield to the relentless pressure that he has been under. We're on lap 4 of 5, and Andreas Jochumsen is steadfast in that P3 position at the moment. Now the pace really has been hot up. Oh, and a little bit of a mistake there, which was exactly what Tregurtha was trying to do. Provoke that error. Here comes Andreas Jochumsen. So he goes through as well. So 2 places could be lost in the space of but a few hundred meters of tarmac. Good saving there from Miklas Born, who right royally shut the door and said, "No way, friend. I am going to not let you through here. I've lost enough already." And Tregurtha now heads on to the final lap, by my reckoning. And he has the P1 place. So you can see now that Miklas is really trying to fight back here. But what he cannot afford to do is make himself too vulnerable to Andreas Jochumsen. And we've already seen just how lively Andreas Jochumsen is. He won't be happy running in P3, as you can see as we ride on board with him. And takes something of a wide line there, and I think almost half in avoidance of clattering into the back of the Miklas Born car, if truth be told. So Will Tregurtha then doing a fine job and is building up something of a margin now, just over 4/10. Miklas Born staying with him though. There was no question. It was, in my opinion, a mistake from Miklas Born, brought about by the continued pressure from Will Tregurtha, which played just nicely into his hands. And of course, he could take full advantage, and that's precisely what he did. Like a viper through, he has caught his prey and now finds himself in that P1 position. So it is Tregurtha from Born, from Jochumsen, from Hillebrand and Bijski-Visser, who has overcome Henry Drury to put Bijski-Visser into that P5 place, which is absolutely critical. So great job being done by the pro driver Bijski-Visser then. So you can see Tregurtha has continued to eke out a little bit more comfort margin, if you like. And the reason for that is because Miklas Born is having to really focus and concentrate on defending from Andreas Jochumsen here. And that plays nicely into the hands of Tregurtha, who is able to escape up the road. And it is Tregurtha P1 from Miklas Born, and then it is Andreas Jochumsen then into this right-hand, left-hand turn. Get your figures right, Dave, and get your corners right, and right at the death here. What about this? Side by side, almost a drag race to the checkered flag for P2. Tregurtha takes the quarterfinal victory from Miklas Born and Andreas Jochumsen, and then some distance before we see Nicholas Hillebrand. Then it's Bijski-Visser, Henry Drury, Rafael Lobato, and Chris Overend. Well, that was every bit as good as I expected that to be, if I'm honest with you. And a great job done by the Williams ESPORTS driver, Will Tregurtha. Good evening, Will. I don't know whether you can hear me or not. We're hoping that you can. The little smile on your face would suggest that you can hear me.
Yeah, really happy with that. Really happy. First race of the series.
I know. Brilliant. Did I call it right? Because I said you were just continually pushing in terms of keeping the pressure up. You just needed a mistake, and that mistake came, didn't it?
Yeah, I just sat behind. I knew that with the draft, I hopefully would have kept the pace, and I just tried to force a mistake as much as I could. I was really pushing the braking zones just to try and get some sort of movement out of everyone around me, and it worked in the end. Kept the tyres nice and cool, and managed to get it.
I'm really impressed with you, Will. Us Brits have to stick together, you know. Great job done. So Will Tregurtha then, as I said, doing what I thought was going to be the only way, really, and that was to maintain that pressure, and the pressure was indeed maintained. The mistake came, and through he went to pick up that P1 place in that quarterfinal. Excellent stuff indeed. And if the rest of the racing that we are going to see this evening follows the same trajectory, then we're in for some great entertainment tonight. Welcome to the RCCO World EX. We've just enjoyed quarterfinal number 1. Of course, we have another quarterfinal to come. Then we're into semi-finals. Here's the result then confirmed from race control for quarterfinal 1. Will Tregurtha taking the win for Williams eSports ahead of Miklas Born for Nianco eSports. Then it was the TK9 E-SPeeD driver Andreas Jochimsen who was really pushing for P2. Then we saw Nicholas Hillebrand for Biela Racing Team Euronics. The BS Plus competition driver Bajski Vosse with P5. And for Patrick Long eSports, Henry Drury takes P6. Rafael Lobato for Absolute Racing P7. And for Chris Overend for the eSports team WRT, it's P8. So there, the full results of the quarter-final 1. Very, very enjoyable. Let's go back to our hosts now. The delightful the delightful Martin and also Louisa. I was trying to be gentlemanly there and introduce you first, Louisa, and I made a right horlicks of it. I'm going to turn my microphone off now and say cheerio.
Cheerio, Miss Sophie. Well, in the end of the day, it was an excellent tactical, absolutely tactical, brilliant idea of Tregurtha.
Yeah.
He really pushed, and he really did, just waiting for this little tiny failure of Miklas Born, who was a bit annoyed about these bloody Brit in the back of the car. What the hell is he doing there? It's unbelievable.
I like it because it's 3 new faces in the front right now.
Absolutely.
We have 3 new faces. Very, very, very cool, high-end, stunning races.
Yeah.
So before we continue with quarterfinal 2, let's get back to our host team, Absolute Racing. We have Zaifai Li about his season so far and about what he's doing for the environment.
Hello, this is Xiaoyufei Li, or Li Xiaoyufei in Chinese language. I'm the esports driver for Absolute Racing to compete in this year's ACER VERO R8G Championship. I'm a pure motorsports enthusiast, and I mostly only do motorsports related things such as watching races and just doing sim racing even in my free time. Apart from this, I'm also a aviation fan and animation fan. My life is relatively very simple. Give me a racing simulator, I can drive it to the end of the world. Esports racing is still quite a newly born industry in China. Competition here is relatively less intense than in Europe, and there are also fewer opportunities for us to compete in. So we hope more sponsors will see us, and at the same time to make ourselves get more opportunities to compete, to show ourselves, and so as to get more Chinese people involved. I'm now competing in PECC, the Porsche Esports Challenge China. So far I had finished twice on the podium this season, and I participated in last year's Le Mans 24 Hours Virtual. It was the biggest event I had ever been in. This year I'm making my first full season entry for Absolute Racing, and I'm very grateful for the team's recognition and trust. Last year I was practicing together with the team as the backup driver. I had learned a lot from Mickey Hoyer, who was the driver at the moment. He helped me a lot, big thanks to him. This is in general, I share the same feeling with Zhou Guanyu, the first Chinese F1 driver. I've been always on the edge of the semi-final for the points. my lap time should have been always good enough for consistent points, but it was a bit of shame that I missed out on quarterfinal by one position at Daytona and Maastricht. I had a very good performance in round 3 at Le Mans, so I hope to have some more luck in the second half of the season. Well, personally, I don't like traveling by private cars, but mainly by public transport, like subways or buses, or just by bicycle or on foot. I think this can greatly relieve the energy crisis and traffic jams. In fact, in Shanghai, where infrastructure is well developed, it's probably more convenient to take public transportation.
What an articulate young man. Lovely to hear. And here we go then. Quarterfinal 2 is on its way. And we are in, as you can see, the WRT garage at the moment as we race for the climate here with the RCCO World EX Championship. And quarterfinal 2, if it's anything like as good as quarterfinal 1, it's going to be a good one, that's for sure. So you can see that Alan Terzic and Thomas Schmidt and Oscar Kristensen and Rory McDuff and Zai-Fai Lee and they're all lining up as we speak at the moment for quarterfinal number 2 for our esports drivers, and the best of those out there. And of course, it is going to be once again the top 5 that will take their chances. And there's Jack Keithley, who is literally just up the road from me, and there is Devin Browner, of course, who was absolutely stunning in the earlier races that we saw. Shut up, Dave. Here come the klaxons. And away we go. Let's go racing once again. Jack Keithley trying to outdrag Devin Browner into turn number 1. And, of course, the inside line going into turn number 1 is all so important here and very, very critical indeed. Now, one driver going very, very wide there. And can Keithley do it? Well, that is the trouble with turn number 1. It very quickly becomes turn number 2. So Devin Browner's well aware of that. And he positioned the car exactly where he needed to. Thomas Schmidt with a good start as well, and Alan Terzic, now back P4. Juri Tomanen is in P5 as Devin Browner will try and stretch his legs a little bit away from Jack Keithley then. And Thomas Schmidt and Alan Terzic in P4. Those at the moment in the drop zone, Rory McDuff and Oscar Kristensen, also Zai-Fai Lee, and also the number 1 car we can see is dropped back as well. So, the number 61 car, I should say, or even 51. My eyesight really is playing devils with me. So the gap between P1 and P2 at the moment is 4/10 as Jack Keithley continues to put the pressure on Devin Browner here. And Jack Keithley trying for a move around the outside, and Devin Browner had seen that coming and sealed it off nicely. Good job done there by Devin Browner, but if Jack Keithley is able to maintain and keep the pressure on him all the way through, and it's Yancy Lee, of course, who is running in that number 61 car and running P9 at the moment. So here comes Jack Keithley with the benefit of the slipstream off the back of the Devin Browner car then. Looking to the inside now. But what can be done here? Devin Browner has got that inside line nailed. Jack Keithley trying to go around the outside. You can hear the tyres screaming in protest then as they push these cars for all they're worth. Top 5 cars at the moment are really rather close together. Jack Keithley just showing his face. And now dives to the outside. And Devin Browner, though, has got it all completely under control. Keithley again. Is he going to nip to the inside? No, he wasn't quite close enough to be able to do it. And all of a sudden now, Jack Keithley is having to defend from Thomas Schmidt also, because Schmidt is looking very lively in P3 ahead of Alan Terzic, who indeed is putting the pressure on Thomas Schmidt and almost provoking Thomas Schmidt to go even quicker. So it's something of a 4-way fight at the moment, and Jiri Toman is not out of this either. So for those critical P5 positions there, you can see Jack Keithley running very wide there, and Thomas Schmidt almost able to take advantage of that. Devin Browner then continuing to lead. But the gap has never been more than 4/10 really between P1 and P2. And again, it's another 5-lap quarter-final that we're enjoying here in the RCCO World EX Championship. We're live from the Sepang circuit in Malaysia. 5.543, very challenging tarmac kilometres 15 turns, 5 of them left. 10 of them are right-handers, and they come around oh so quickly here. Browner from Keithley, from Schmidt, from Terzic, from Toman, from McDuff, and Oscar Kristensen is P7, then it's Yifei Lee, and here we go then. As Jack Keithley again, doing everything he can. He's got the gap down to less than 3/10 between P1 and P2. Under the hibiscus then here at Sepang, and he's virtually pushing Devin Browner around that turn. This is really good stuff for P1, and what can Jack Keithley do now? Devin Browner is not renowned for making mistakes. Again, Keithley just taking a look up the inside there. Browner had got it covered off, and Keithley almost, and I have to say, if I was in the car, I'd almost be encouraged to get the wrath of the race director by giving just a little love tap to unsettle the car ahead of me, which is precisely why I talk about it rather than drive the cars, because I would be forever in the steward's box. So Browner from Keithley, from Schmidt and Terzic, but the top two have broken away nicely from P3 and P4 now, and it becomes a two-horse race, if you will, in these wonderful cars around the Malaysia circuit then. Devin Browner, 3.5 tenths over Jack Keithley, and Jack is really sticking with him here. Here comes Thomas Schmidt trying to get back on terms with the top two here, and leaving Alan Terzic just a little bit. And there you can see Devin Browner really focusing and concentrating here. And I have to say, he looks as cool as a cucumber, and is not yielding to the pressure that is being continually pummeled by Jack Keithley, and holds on to it. You can see the feedback coming through the steering wheel in his simulator here. These cars really are very, very, very powerful, very good to control when you get the sweet spot, and Devin Browner at the moment has got that sweet spot, seemingly. And Jack Keithley chasing him for all he's worth. Not quite close enough to be able to just have a look at the inside as they round the final turn. Turn number 15. And head towards the timing line again and cross the timing line. So we're on to lap 4 or 5 now. And this battle for P1 has never been closer than it is right now. In fact, Keithley and Brown are almost trading a little bit of paint there. And you can see, oh, and there was just almost a little love tap. Certainly not intentional, certainly not malicious. It's just how close these two are racing. And racing is what it's all about. Racing for the climate. And Browner and Keithley and Schmidt and Terzic and Toman doing a great job of leading by example, because they are in those top 5 positions at the moment. So what can Keithley do different to what he has been doing over every single lap so far? Well, if anything, Browner is beginning to look a little bit more comfortable. Was that a small mistake there by Keithley, who of course is pushed and pushed and pushed so hard on and early on in the race? Does that mean that he is going to become vulnerable to Schmidt then, who is running in P3? Well, time will tell, but time is beginning to run out for these drivers in quarterfinal number 2. Devin Browner has been faultless thus far. No mistakes, not even a wobble. And as you can see, Alan Terzic is beginning to get even closer to Thomas Schmidt as well. This is all going to be a 4-way frenzy at the end, potentially. So heading in, here is Devin Browner as we go back on board with him right now. And there you can see as he dives around the left-hander, Jack Keithley knows that it's now or never really. He's got to try and do everything he can. So here is Browner. And here is Keithley. So there is Butter. Oh, and just for my money there, Browner didn't get that turn quite as well as he's done on previous laps, and that allowed Keithley to get a little bit closer. But Browner, for the moment, appears to have it all completely under control. So let's go on board with the man that's doing the chasing here, and that is Jack Keithley, driving for Williams Esports. Well, wouldn't it be brilliant for them to take a double bubble from the first 2 quarterfinals? But at the moment, it's P1 to Devin Browner for the esports team WRT, and it's Jack Keithley then who is running in P2. But under braking, he gets ever more closer to Devin Browner. There is Jack Keithley hard at work inside his simulator then, doing everything he can. And it's been a really clean and tidy race from all of these drivers once again. And a real example of just how good this World EX Championship is in terms of race action on track and the entertainment it delivers for us race fans. Browner from Keighley, from Schmidt, from Terzic, from Jerry Toman. And I have to say, with the final few turns to be done, I don't know what Keighley's going to be able to find from somewhere to really be able to make the difference when it comes to the final turn, which is going to be about his last opportunity to overtake here. And they're heading in towards that left-hander right now. So turning through, Devin Browner then, and Jack Keighley, a masterclass of brilliant driving from our quarterfinal 2 as Devin Browner takes the checkered flag from Jack Keighley, Thomas Schmidt and Alan Terzic and Jerry Toman and Oscar Kristensen, then the 2 Lees and McDuff, the 6, 7, 8 and 9.
You get another one.
Next time, don't keep hitting the side of my car.
What? We didn't touch.
Well, I got blue damage, so...
Let's see if I can check in right now with Devin Browner, who spends half his life as a voiceover artist as well. That's why he has a really high-level microphone you can see to his right-hand side. Devin Browner, I said on air, that was a masterclass. You did really well, friend.
Thank you very much.
Never once did I think that you were really vulnerable. I felt you seemed to have it all completely under control. Am I telling the truth, or were you actually a bag of nerves?
Well, Jack was right on to me until basically the final lap. I think, like, the tiniest mistake he would have had me easily. Like, the only reason he didn't was because it's so difficult to overtake it.
It is difficult to overtake, but respect to all of you drivers. It was a really clean and tidy race as well. And I said in comms, you know, if I was out there in one of those cars, I would have been very tempted just to give you a little love tap on the corner, Devin, and find a way through. But actually, no one did that. Really clean and tidy race.
Yeah, that's actually pretty nice. Good change from last round where basically we had carnage into turn 1. This time it's just completely clean from everyone.
Well done to you, Devin Browner. Many congratulations. Great job done.
Thank you very much.
So Devin Browner then is successful. In just a few moments' time, we'll get, as if by magic, there is the confirmation from race control of the result for quarterfinal 2. Esports Team WRT's Devin Browner taking P1 from the Williams Esports driver Jack Keighley. Thomas Schmidt for Nianco Esports P3. Alan Terzic for BS Plus Competition P4. Oscar Kristensen, TK9 E-SPeeD P5. For ACER VERO R8G, Jerry Toman P6. Yanzi Lee, Absolute Racing P7. Zi-Fi Lee, Absolute Racing P8. And Rory McDuff then for Patrick Long Esports P9. Another excellent quarter-final 2. And Devin Browner, I said it was like a masterclass. And Martin and Louisa, I hope you agree with me that it was textbook driving, really, from Devin.
Well, it was a kind of a replication of the first quarterfinal. The funny thing is, in the first quarterfinal, it was the leader who did the failure. In the second quarterfinal, Jack Keighley. So the second placed guy was the one who did the failure. And that's why the gap between him and Devin Browner went that big. So it was quite interesting. But in the end of the day, it was absolutely tactical, clever racing, and it was amazing to see.
Yeah, but sad news, every driver of our host team, Absolute Racing, is out now. So such a shame, really, really a shame. But before we continue with the semi-final, let's hear about their team manager Ingo Matta. He's with us talking about the roots of Absolute Racing and their partnership with InSpeed Racing.
I think we always have the goal to be in front and to be winning. Competition in World X is very fierce, and you have to see where we are coming from. So we are not one of these big e-sport teams which has a lot of experience in it. We really started with World X. It was our first program compared to other competitors who has a lot more experience. And I think also with InSpeed we have a partner which only now starts on the international level. So of course there is progress, but I think we're getting better and better and better. And that has to be the goal, to improve and set yourself realistic targets. So in general, I'm happy as it's going forward. We are very happy that we had E-SPeeD Racing joining us from the beginning when we started the sim racing program, because they are like a very good Chinese sim racing team, which is developing very, very well, especially with T, where we are working very close together. He's doing a mega job, and well, we try to help with our expertise and also try to help to get the Chinese market growing. For the experience which is in China for international level of driving, I think we are on a very good way. When we started in the beginning with testing and so far, he improved quite a lot, and it's very going in the right direction. It's very good actually. With LAMAVE, it's a good partnership, because obviously we are in the region of Asia and especially also Southeast Asia very active, and LAMAVE has a good thing protecting the wildlife. I mean the marine wildlife mainly. And it's something I think we all have to be a bit more conscious about, the whole sustainability point, and also to protect the environment. And that's why we are trying to work with them and help them and create a bit awareness, especially in the region, because they also do internships for small villages to protect the wildlife. So it's all starting small, and it can grow and really make a difference in protecting the marine life in the small communities. Electric mobility in China is obviously on the rise. I mean, you see a lot of electric cars, and it does really make sense, especially in China, in the big mega cities. It's something which is really easy to do, and there is a lot of new technologies coming out of China, I think, which will also be a game changer in Europe. When you see that when you drive a car and you change the battery in 2 minutes, like I think there is like 5 stations within 800 meters around me where this is possible. It's a good sustainable way, and I think it will grow and grow and grow, and it takes up especially in the big cities, but also over when you drive over the countryside, as we do sometimes, obviously, when we race from Ningbo and from Shanghai, which is like 200-kilometer drive or 300-kilometer drive all in. There's so many electric stations now where you can change batteries, charge the batteries, and you see a lot more electric cars on the road.
Great to hear from Ingo, talking a lot of sense there. Very, very enjoyable to listen to that. Ingo Matter then, the hosted team. And we're getting ourselves ready for the semi-final to come then. And there you can see the focus and the concentration then as we think we prepare for the semi-final. Our preparations are as naught in comparison, of course, to those drivers that are competing in it. So Miklas Born and Thomas Schmidt, you can see on the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen with Thomas Schmidt, Andreas Jochumsen, Alan Terzic, Niklas Hillebrand, Oscar Kristensen, Beitski Visser, but going right from the start at P1, Devin Browner and Will Tregurtha, both having been successful. Stand by for the klaxons then to get this semi-final underway. And here we go then, a brilliant grid of cars heading in towards turn number 1. And 3 abreast we go then, heading towards that turn. And you can see the big beneficiary here is going to be through on the inside, or is he? Whoa, a little tap between the two of them. Miklas Born and Devin Browner having a really good battle here, and Jack Keithley trying to make up for what he feels was the wrongs and right the wrongs of that was a big sideways moment, and we were on board to enjoy that as well. Super control, I have to say, holding on to that car like never before. Once that gets sideways, that was something to really enjoy. And of course, all the action going on behind now is just playing brilliantly into the hands of Devin Browner. So it is Browner from Born, from Keithley, Tregurtha, Schmidt, Hillebrand, Jochumsen, Terzic, Kristensen and Visser then is the way it looks at the moment. And here is, really taking the curb there, or just avoiding the curb, kissing the apex almost nicely, and Jack Keithley through into P2 then. So it's Browner from Keithley, then it is Miklas Born and Will Tregurtha and Nicholas Hillebrand and Andreas Jochumsen, who is currently running in P6. So at the moment, Devin Browner then is very nearly a second ahead of the P2 driver, and coming under pressure again as we look further back through the pack of cars. And you can see as you dive into that final turn, whether you choose the inside or the outside. The tarmac is very, very difficult to get it right here. So, of course, shorter these semi-finals, only 4 laps, so every single lap is utterly crucial. Of course, every single lap in every single race is utterly crucial, but the time is really, really relevant here. As you can see, Alan Terzic and Andreas Jochimsen having a great battle. Let's go on board here. And here you can see, as Jack Keithley, then the power of these cars, and just out onto the curbs there. Devin Browner just 8/10 ahead. So it is Browner from Keithley, from Bourne, from Tregurtha and Hillebrand. They are the top 5 at the moment. We're on lap 2 of 4. We have the first 2 laps of this semi-final gone. So David Browner from Jack Keithley, the live gap between them, as you can see, being put onto the screen in the graphics at the bottom of the screen. The WRT driver up against Jack Keithley for Williams Esports, and Devin Browner. Now, he's being caught just a little bit by Jack Keithley. They've broken away from the likes of Miklas Bourne and Will Tregurtha and Nicholas Hillebrand and Alan Terzic, and you can see that Keithley is using not only the tarmac, the curbs, but also little bits of grass as well, all perfectly legal as long as you keep 2 wheels within the white lines of the track limits, which is what he is doing. Heading up towards the left-hander, which is the final turn number 15 on this 5.543 kilometer circuit. And then as we take a wider look at the rest of the competitors that are taking part here, there's still plenty of battles going on. So Browner from Keithley, and of course it's all to play for, as we have just commenced lap 3 of this 4-lap phenomenal semi-final that we're enjoying. So Devin Browner leading by 6/10. Now this is the battle going on for P3 at the moment between Miklas Bourne and Will Tregurtha. Now bear in mind that P3, it's at the moment it's Miklas that's going to be going through to the final. So we're looking for the best pro driver and the best esports racer. Devin Browner, of course, is the best esports racer at the moment, but he is being hounded by Jack Keithley, and also Miklas Bourne is the quickest of the pro drivers, and Will Tregurtha has had a spin, which we didn't see live, but that's what's happened there. So as we ride on board this car here, absolutely loving this. And you can see the message from race controllers Alan Terzic and Oscar Kristensen. There's a warning with regards to a collision there. Fastest lap came from Jack Keithley at 1:43.290, and Jack Keithley running in P2, but P2 is just not good enough because the man that is in front of him, Devin Browner, is the best of the esports racers, and therefore he's the driver that will go through. Here is Jack Keithley, just within 5/10 now of Devin Browner, so it isn't all over yet. So Browner from Keithley, from Bourne, from Terzic. At the moment, the 2 that will be going through, Browner and Bourne, if everything stays this way. But this race isn't done yet. As we start the final lap then of this semi-final, what and where can Jack Keithley find the pace he needs to unseat and unsettle Devin Browner ahead of him? So quietly contemplating where he is going to try and pounce, potentially. But Devin Browner probably has got it all completely under control and just knows where he is likely to be vulnerable, and he just increases the margin by another 1/10 or 2 to protect himself. And you can see Keithley there on the onboard shot that we could see there. He was just shaking his head almost in frustration because he knows that Browner has been clever enough just to maintain enough of a lead that it prevents Keithley from getting close. So the 2 drivers that we're going to see going through here are going to be Devin Browner and Miklas Bourne, if nothing changes over the final few hundred meters of tarmac that front us here at the Sepang circuit in Malaysia. So Browner 7/10, Keithley narrows it to 6/10. Oh, and just a bit of a wobble there as we were on board with him, and that won't have helped his quest to get ever closer to the esports racer that is currently leading this race, and of course will go through to the final. And this is the man, Devin Browner then, who has had something of a stellar evening here in Malaysia. As Jack Keithley in the final knockings then gets as close as he dares. Drag race to the checkered flag now, but I think Browner has done enough here, and the checkered flag waves for Devin Browner, who takes P1, Jack Keithley P2, and Miklas Bourne will be going through as the best of the pro drivers. Wow. We hear some of the reactions from our drivers. So it's Nianco Esports for Miklas Bourne. And for Devin Browner, of course, the esports team WRT. Now, Miklas, not had the opportunity to speak to you thus far this evening. Let's put that right now. Well done, P3. That's enough for you. You are through to the final. Blumenegg, Miklas, this track, Malaysia, is really, really difficult to overtake on, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you. It's quite difficult because it's quite bumpy, but I'm happy with the race. I had quite a good start, but lacking a bit of pace in the end, so final is going to be interesting.
I think the final is going to be interesting, and Miklas, to be fair, Devin Browner has, I said earlier on, you know, his performance this evening has been like a masterclass here in Sepang, so you are really going to have to pull something special out of the bag, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess the start is going to be my best opportunity, and I hope to keep in behind, but it's going to be hard.
Well, I just get the impression that maybe you're underplaying your chances there, because secretly you're very, very confident. Well done to Miklas Bourne. It's great to speak to him. Here's confirmation of the result of the semi-final. Now, Devin Browner takes P1, Jack Keithley takes P2. But P2 was not enough because it is the top esports racer and the top pro driver going through. That means the P3 driver, Miklas Bourne, goes through for Nianco Esports. And the rest of the order, it was Alan Terzic ahead of Bijski Visser, and then Oscar Kristensen, Thomas Schmidt, Will Tregertha, Andreas Jochimsen, and Nicholas Hillebrand. That's the way the semi-final then rolled out in the end. And as we roll out the barrel once again and head it towards my colleagues, Martin and Louisa. I've really enjoyed it so far this evening.
Of course, we do. Also, absolutely. And it's quite interesting how more racing, not this much fighting as it was in the quarterfinal 1, quarterfinal 2. The semi-final was much more racing. And just what you said, Dave, masterpiece of Devin, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
It
is, and you know, we met him 2 weeks ago at our big live event at our RCCO World EX Summit, and I had the pleasure being in his team. I had the honor, Martin, to race for Biela Racing Team Euronics in a slot car team, but indeed together with Devin Browner, and he's such a cool guy. He really deserves that win now. And to speak about the World EX Summit, Martin, you were there, I was there. It was a huge event, a great event, where everybody from the scene of the electric racing, of future mobility, of sim racing met, and you present now for us a highlight clip of that beautiful event. Let's go.
Enjoy it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you here at the World EX Summit 2022. The first time that we're gonna did this really big show here at the Bilsterberg racetrack in Germany. We have the slot car racing here, the 24-hour slot car racing of the RCCO here in Germany after the pandemic time, and we're really looking forward to that one, and I guess you will love all the highlights here from the World EX Summit 2022, the first time and not the last time.
I'm Daryl Smith from BRP Rotax, and behind me here you can see our E20 electric go-karts. So I'm here to promote the karts at the Bilsterberg event and have a bit of fun doing some demos later on.
Hallo, mein Name ist Maren. Ich bin von der Firma Rennsport. Wir sind eine neue Sim-Racing-Plattform, die sich speziell auf Sim-Racing, aber auch auf E-Sport und auf Digital Ownership konzentriert. Also Simracing ist in den letzten Jahren sehr stark in den Fokus getreten, wird auch in Zukunft sehr stark gefördert, denke ich, sowohl von den Automobilherstellern, aber auch von anderen Teams und Unternehmen wird es eine wichtige Rolle spielen.
So to have an opportunity to be part of an event that's completely focused on electric motorsport, esports, and the digitalization of motorsport is really, really exciting for us, and we're happy to be here. It's been a really great event so far because we've been able to connect with a lot of different people involved in sustainability in motorsport and also digital side of things as well. We've also been able to see the 24-hour slot car race, which is crazy. It's so much fun, as well as connect with a lot of people on the sim racing side and in doing a lot of exciting things within digital technology.
So we had a ton of speaking panels. I got to go on with Daryl from Rotax, so we got to talk a bit about electric karting. Sebastian Vettel was on Zoom, so that was awesome. Volkswagen, Audi, basically everyone from every corner of the electric racing world was here.
What an absolutely brilliant event. Irritatingly, I was in the Pebble Beach, so I couldn't be there, which... Hey! Next time, brilliant event, and well done to everyone that took part in that World EX Summit at Bilsterberg as we make our preparations now for the big final to come of this RCCO World EX round at the Sepang circuit in Malaysia, brought to you by Absolute Racing. And there we can see Devin Browner in his final stages of preparation then, ahead of this final, and there indeed is yet the competitor driver, if you like, in his final stages of preparation, Miklas and Devin then, who will be going. And we are now just 8 seconds away from this two-lap shootout to decide who is going to be the king of Sepang tonight. And stand by, here come the klaxons to start the race. So then, as the power is unleashed from these wonderful cars, a very good start from Miklas Born, who will have the inside line going into turn number 1. Devin Browner then just trying to out-drag, but it's a long way around the outside. Now what Miklas needs to do is to close the door. And, well, he tries to do that, but Devin Browner sticks his nose right where Miklas Born didn't want it. And that has been enough for Devin Browner to go through to pick up P1. And this is going to be a big, big task now for Miklas Born to try and unseat the WRT driver from that P1 place. And Miklas said when we spoke to him just a few moments ago that it was all going to be at the start. That's where he needed to do it. And in fairness, his start was exemplary. It was just through turn 3 where Devin Browner, well, it kind of started through turn number 2, really. Devin Browner just sticking his nose in there, and that was enough for him to go through to pick up that P1 place. 6/10 between the two drivers. Devin Browner to the left-hand side of the screen. You can see inside his simulator, Miklas Born to the right-hand side of your screen for Nianco Esports. Trying devilishly hard to keep on terms with this man that has been so successful here at Sepang this evening. And it would be someone very, very brave and of deeper pockets than me to bet against Devin Browner being able to seal the deal tonight here in Sepang. So here is Miklas Born, though. He is certainly not going to give up until the checkered flag is flying. And, of course, Devin Browner could yet make a mistake. I think it's unlikely, but you never know. So here they go then to put the first lap in the book. And Devin Browner, look at his eyes across everywhere on the screen. Just keeping an eye in where Miklas is and what the gap is between P1 and P2. And at the moment, it's running at just about 9/10 between the two of them. So Miklas Born then needs to make sure that every centimetre counts and nails every apex in, trying to keep on terms with Devin Browner. But I said earlier on that Devin has just proven to be something of an expert in getting the best out of the car and the best out of this really, really tricky 5.543 kilometre Sepang circuit. So this is the final, and we are on lap 2 of 2. It is a shootout, and it's a real dash for cash, if you will, to use yet another classic, one of my cronyisms, if you will, to describe the short, sharp nature of the racing that we really enjoy in the RCCO World EX Championship, which is brilliant. And there you can see the brake discs, really, the virtual brake discs really lighting up as Devin Browner puts every ounce of energy into braking and scrubbing off the speed to enable him to take the turn and increase the margin to now 1.6 seconds between himself and this man that we were on board with there just momentarily, Miklas Born. So 1.4, 1.5 seconds between the two drivers that you can see on screen now. Both of them look pretty cool, to be honest, and both of them should be really proud of their efforts this evening because they have delivered some scintillating race action for us. Maybe if Miklas had just tried a bit harder to close the gap, or rather to close the door, that would have prevented Devin Browner taking the win. But he does take the win ahead of Miklas Born.
Good race. And you almost had me into turn 2. really well done.
Listening to
I think he only got unlucky that I nailed the braking into turn 1 by pure accident, because I was like, no, I'm not letting him have that. And then, yeah, you didn't quite have the overlap.
Devin Browner, I know you're having a conversation there with Miklas and you're being very gentlemanly about it and saying, do you know what? It was only because I nailed that and I nailed it by accident. You're not telling me the truth, Devin. You got it all planned, hadn't you?
No, absolutely not. So, in every other race, I messed up the start, but in this one, I messed it up even harder than before. And basically, in the braking zone turn 1, I just took the risk, which I didn't have to take in the previous rounds. And, well, it paid off.
It did pay off, and well done to you, Devin. If you'll forgive me, I'm going to switch around because I really feel that I need to speak to your competitor in that final, because he had said to me just a few moments, Miklas, you said it was all about the start, and Miklas, I think you'd got it nailed. And you were, dare I say this, you were almost too gentlemanly. If it had been me, I'd have just shut the door and said, naff off, you're not coming through. But it's easy for me to talk about it. Nonetheless, many, many congratulations. You've driven really well tonight, Miklas.
Thank you. Yeah, the start was great again, but as Devin said, he got me in turn 2. Quite a bit unlucky, but as I said before, the pace he had was unbelievable, so congrats to him, and I try it next time.
You will, and of course, Nico Esports now with a ticket for the super final to come right at the end of the season as well, by dint of what you've achieved tonight. So, Miklas Born for Nico Esports. Nico's going to be very happy with you, and of course, WRT are going to be particularly happy with you, Devin. Yeah, really, many congratulations. I said earlier on, and I say a lot of things that are wrong, but on this occasion I'm not wrong, and that is that you've given us a masterclass of the Sepang circuit, friend.
Thank you very much. But also congrats to Miklas, because on his debut in this series, and probably also this sim, just driving to the final is actually insane. I have to admit that. Really good.
That's very gentlemanly of you, and the camaraderie between you two is brilliant to enjoy. And you're absolutely right. Well done, Miklas. Well done, Devin. So there we have it, the two drivers that took part in our final tonight. And again, another super evening. And I have to say, I'm just so jealous of you two guys. Well, of course, Louisa is quite clearly not a guy. I'm not being an idiot, although I am an idiot. But I just want to reflect on tonight, but also to reflect on that World EX Summit, because it looked fantastic. And well done to you for pulling that off, and also to Thomas for making it all happen, because that looked brilliant. But what a great night tonight. Thank you for once again tolerating this Englishman.
As long as you are that Brit man, you have to stay for the whole time, of course. Absolutely, Dave. Thank you very much for your commentation. And, well, of course, congratulations, Smith Skotke, too, because Devin was her bad on the winner this evening. And,
I am the true winner of this evening, of course.
Yes.
No.
It looks like that Devin really found the point where he wants to win now all the races which are following. Devin Browner was the winner in front of the second place, the Swiss man Miklas Born. The Englishman Jack Keithley did the third place. Alen Terzic from Slovakia on the fourth position. Beitske from the Netherlands on the fifth position, the best lady in the field and the second best pro. Oscar Kristensen from Denmark on place number 6. Thomas Schmidt, the second Swiss guy. So Switzerland is quite strong. Even also Denmark is quite strong. Thomas Schmidt on the 7th position. Wilfred Goether from England, place number 8. Andreas Jochemsen, the second best Danish guy, on place number 9. And Nicolas Hillebrand, he fulfills the top 10.
Yeah.
The eSport team WRT, due to the fact that they won 2 races now in a row, placed number 1 in the World EX Championship with 91 points in front of Danish Dynamite, TK9 E-SPeeD, 89 points, Vero 88, the ACER VERO R8G team, 83 points in the third position. Devin, just what I said, the winner champagne is always the sweetest, isn't it?
Oh.
Did you hurt me?
He blacked out.
No? Yeah,
he disappeared already. Oh no! But I'm so happy for him. He really deserves it.
No.
Oh, is he back?
He's trying to find his
Maybe he
camera.
dropped his phone or his camera.
Everything's fine, Mr. Browner, or are you now drunk from the winner champagne? Yeah. Huh? It comes back. It's Mr. Browner. He's looking for... I guess you can hear me, isn't it?
Yes. Hello.
Yes. Yes. Hello. Well, Devin, the winner champagne is always a sweeted, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes.
So what happened in between the last 2 races, this one in Sepang and the race in Maastricht? Now you're the leading man. Now you're the leading man in the World EX Championship. So what can we expect in the future from you?
To be honest, I didn't expect to be leading this championship this soon.
Yeah, right.
I think probably it's because Lasse's missing. So I think when he's back, he's probably going to pick up the wins again. But I'll stay on it. I'll try to beat him. And well, we'll see how it goes. I think it's unpredictable because with this car, every track is like a new challenge.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Walter is leading the championship, that's right. But in the end of the day, 2 wins in the row is quite surprising. Before you had the first victory last time in Maastricht, now the second one in Sepang. And totally different tracks. City track there and a racetrack here. So is everything possible for you?
After today, I believe everything's possible. I mean, this track was so different. I actually didn't get along with the car at all. I expected to be somewhere in the middle, not like near the lead. But well, as it turns out, I had the pace, which surprised even me today. So yeah, anything's possible from here on.
By the way, everything is possible. Is Walter your dog, or why is the car called Walter?
The story's too long to explain. I don't have a dog though, so.
So short one, absolutely. Congratulations, Devin, for the second win in a row, and yeah, really happy for you, and absolutely brilliant job. Dave said it before, and I guess you made Louisa very happy today.
Thank you very much. Glad that worked out.
So,
am I getting any of that coffee?
Yeah, but
please.
Of course.
Of course.
You're welcome. Absolutely.
We come here to Hamburg.
Just what we said before, it was an amazing race evening at Sepang, at a very tricky racetrack, and it was amazing races in the quarter, in the semi, and in the final. And he was the absolutely strongest competitor in this evening, and I'm really lucky for Devin, and I'm really lucky to have you here, Louisa.
Yes,
thank you very much for
it was a pleasure as always.
Absolutely, and I'm really looking forward to the next race, and yeah, I guess sure with both of us.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that. I think what you said, great racing, like not gentle racing, sportive racing, really cool racing with each other, not really fighting against each other this time. It was brilliant to see, I think. And yeah, we had a great evening, and so stay tuned for the next round next month. Keep yourself up to date about everything on our social media, hashtag WorldEX and at RCCO WorldEX on Instagram, Twitter and co. So you don't miss anything, and until then, have a good one. Bye bye.